Hello, everybody, and welcome to the BlowOUTGrowth Network. I'm Gio Auritas, your host. Thanks for joining us today. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us today at the BlowOUTGrowth Network. We're happy to have you here. Thanks for following us on our channel. And today, I'm very, very pleased to be introducing you to a spectacular guy, a guy who's got a ton of experience, a guy who's been around the block, who knows both sides of the fence. He knows what it's like to be out there hustling and building wealth and building success, and he knows what it's like to be on the other side of it. Lots of great knowledge from this guy. Every single time we get together and have a session, our conversations are always fruitful and productive. He is he's an NCAA walk-on. He earned a scholarship just by walking on. He's a natural athlete. He then went on to be ranked in the top 25 nationally as a hammer thrower. He went to the Olympic trials 2000 in Puerto Rico, where he was second place. He's got a litany of strength training accolades, some of which include a 700-pound squat, 450-pound flat bench, 395-pound incline bench, 315-pound power clean, a 275-pound snatch. He graduated from DePaul University with a BA in political science and a minor in English. He's a founding father of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon chapter, Delta Pi, down in Chicago at DePaul University, along with myself. He's also a graduate of the Wright Foundation, which is a year of transformation of social and emotional intelligence training, which I know personally from our conversations has been a huge boon to his confidence and his motivation and his ability to organize and execute. So I'm excited really to introduce you here. He's currently a senior mortgage consultant at BlueLeaf, originating over 100 transactions a year. Talk about volume, everybody. Talk about hustling. He originates these loans and helps people, families buy first homes, second homes, investment homes. He specializes in working with the military, self-employed, and first-time home buyers. I could go on and on with your list of accolades here, Nelson, but thank you for being on the show. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us here at BlowOUTGrowth. We're really happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. So I'd like to start out, I know there's a lot of different places we could go, and I'm sure that we could go for a long time, but I'd like everybody to kind of know from the beginning, how old are you now?
44.
44 years old. And personally, Nels, what's your definition of success?
I think success is not measurable so much by the things that you have, but the life experience that you're creating for yourself. So if you're able to generate revenue or wealth, whatever you want to call it, and then that in turn provides you a lifestyle that you like and that you want to maintain, whether it be more time with your family, more time with your spouse, your loved one, your kids, your dogs, more time playing sports that you like, then I think as long as you achieve that, you've gotten to that point and you achieved it, then I think that you've been successful.
So are you saying freedom?
I think freedom is a big key. I think freedom is the key. For me, it is. I may work for money, but I work for that because in turn that buys me time. And to me, time is something you can't get back. So that's pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. I think getting to the point where you have the ability to create that kind of, time is a luxury, right? Time is really a luxury. It's the only thing money can't really buy on this earth. Pretty much everything else it could, right?
Yeah.
So tell us where you came from. Where are you from and how did you get to here? Tell us your story.
All right. So born and raised in Chicago. My parents are from Puerto Rico, so I'm of Puerto Rican descent. I speak Spanish, grew up in a household where we did that primarily with my grandparents and my parents a little bit. Went to private school pretty much from the beginning, ended up at DePaul where I met you. And that's where I got into sports. And I think that my athletic career is pretty much the foundation for my business career. They parallel each other so much, and they're similar because when I went to DePaul, I wasn't planning on doing track. I just happened to be walking through the cafeteria one day and I had a track and field shirt on. And a guy stopped me and he was like, "Hey, do you do track?" And I was like, "Well, I did in high school." He's like, "Well, what did you do?" And I said, "Shot put and discus." And he said, "Would you want to come out for the team?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm planning on commuting from home to school." So he said, "Well, why don't you talk to the coach?" So I went and I talked to the head coach and I said, "Hey, can I be on the track team?" And he looked at my numbers, which were, and in high school I didn't go downstate or anything. I had won the conference, but I had missed the state qualifying by a little bit, and I had no intention of competing. And the coach said, "Well, I can't give you any money. All I can do is let you walk on." And I said, "Well, if I'm going to be here, can I be in the housing?" Because the year had already started and the housing was full. And he said, "Well, I can't pay for it, but athletes get priority. So if you want housing, I can get you housing." And that's kind of where it started. But
I never knew that. I never knew that about you.
You never knew that?
I never knew that's how you got into the housing. No.
Yeah. So when I walked in, the pivotal moment for me was going to my first track meet as a college athlete coming out of high school.
And you're how old at this point? How old are you at this point?
So I'm 18.
Really young. Still figuring it out.
Still figuring it out. I go to this track meet and I pretty much get annihilated. So my first thing is to throw the shot put the ball. I throw it. I felt like it fell 2 feet in front of me. And all these other guys were throwing it 30, 40, 50 feet in front of me. And I just remember being very, very embarrassed and super upset about it. And I promised myself that I would never feel that way again. And so those of you that went to DePaul know that when the school shuts down for Christmas break, it's an entire month. Yeah. So in that month, I went home and all I did was push-ups and sit-ups for all 4 weeks, every day.
You Bryson DeChambeau'd it before Chambeau was even around.
I guess if you want to call it that. And that's all I did all winter long.
Like how many would you do? Give me an example, like what your day was.
I just every morning and every night, I did as many sit-ups and push-ups as I could. That's all I did. And the funny thing is that when I walked in the door, I weighed 205 pounds. And by the end of the first year, I weighed 255 pounds.
Wow.
I was struggling when I walked in the door in the weight room to be strong. And when I left, I was super strong after that first year. So that really motivated me. It got me upset, and that put me kind of on the course that got me the accolades that I got at the end, which was earning the scholarship and then being ranked top 25 in the country and then going on to the Puerto Rican Olympic trials. So
they ended up giving you a scholarship because you were performing so well, when in the very beginning, the guy's like, "I can't give you anything."
You're right. He said, "I can't give you anything." And
Great
I said,
first accomplishment.
Yep. And so that's what I earned. But so it's that experience right there that I go back to when it comes to trying to accomplish anything in my life or business or dealing with a situation. It's like, that's what I had to do. I had to morph into who I wanted to be to get done what I needed to get done. So that's what I did.
So was that like your aha moment? So is that how you motivate yourself? Do you go back to that moment when you need to motivate yourself?
Definitely. Yep.
Really?
That is a big motivator. Yeah.
And you got your aha kind of first moment when you were about 18 years old.
Yeah, about 18. Well, and then at the end of that year, I put it together because here's the other part I figured out. School was never my thing. I wasn't a great student, but the only way I got into DePaul was through a special program called the Bridge Program. And I didn't have the ACT scores. I took it 3 times. I got a 14, a 17, and an 18. So nothing to be excited or write home about. But I got in, and in that program, we went to school every day in the summer before the year started. I got a grade point average jump. But what I learned is that everything else to me came easy to everyone else. Everyone else could read and do things and pick things up quickly, and that wasn't who I am. So what I figured out at the end of the first year was like, there's so many things that maybe I'm not as quick to get as other people, but if I work hard enough and if I apply myself, then I know that I can do those things, which was the track. which was doing better in school. People could read things once. I had to read things 3 or 4 times, but that's okay because I knew that. I knew that's what I needed to do to get ahead and comprehend. So at the end of the day, my motto was like, do whatever I got to do to get it done.
So, you worked hard you realized that for you, if you just put your mind to something and you worked at it, that you could achieve it. And you learned that from that time that you had spent just waking up every day doing sit-ups and push-ups and building yourself up so that you can go back and compete. So, I ask a lot of our guests this, but normally I wait a little bit longer, but I think it's appropriate to give me pick 2 of your favorite superheroes. They could be anything. They could be, a lot of people are going Marvel and in that direction, but they could also be video game superheroes or whatever. But pick 2 superheroes, first ones that come to your mind, your 2 favorite ones.
I would say Wolverine is one. And the other one, I would have to say Batman.
Okay. Now, 2 good ones, 2 worthy adversaries in a fight. Who would win and what would be the determining factor of why they won?
The Wolverine.
Why?
The tenaciousness of the Wolverine.
Tenaciousness.
Just doesn't give up, just stubborn.
So, and it's great that you said that. I did not expect that, because in the story that you just told, I think it's your tenacity that, and if I were to ask you the question, I don't think I need to, but if I were to ask you the question, what are some of the top skills or talents or techniques or accolades or things that you need to have to attain success in your life right now? I'm going to guess that tenacity would be at or near the top of your list. Never giving up, right?
For sure. Yeah.
So would you call that a superpower of yours?
I would say it's a superpower. Sure.
Do you have any others?
Tenacity's one. Proving people wrong is another one.
Really? A motivation to prove people wrong. Explain that. Dig into that.
Well, I think that for me, again, right, like going back to track, it's the one thing I always go back to when I think of, like, for example, I see my peers, right? People in my industry, right? They may be making more, they may be doing more, they may be doing whatever they're doing. But the one thing that I come back to that I remember thinking about in that first track meet was, I looked at these guys that I was competing against, and the first thing that I thought to myself was, there's no difference between them and me. The only difference is that they have more time on me, they're stronger than me, and they have more experience. That's it. So that means that as long as I put in the time, gain the experience, and build up the strength, I should be able to outpace these guys.
So you said prove others wrong. Are you hinting that you had haters? Were people like putting you down? Were you in an environment like that, or did you find that in the sport that you were in or the environment that you were in there? Were people not believing in you, where you had to be the only one to believe in you?
For sure. Psychologically,
really?
Yeah. Psychologically, that place, I have a chip on my shoulder. I'll admit it.
But you've earned it, though. But you've earned it, right?
But I've earned it. That's my chip. My chip is, prove everybody wrong and just do the best that I can. And what's funny is blow it out. Just like your podcast, BlowOUTGrowth. Like when I do something, I want to just blow it out. So ironically enough, the head coach was like, well, we can't give you any money. You should be pretty decent. Hopefully you can earn some points and we can kind of see where you're at, and you can help the team a little bit. But he ended up telling the assistant coach, who told me, who had just graduated and is a good friend of mine up to this day. He ended up telling him, I don't really think he'll ever do much. I think he'll be average at best.
Wow. And Nels, I don't know that we've ever shared this. This is great. I've had a similar experience. When I was younger, my personality type, when I was, in those age groups that we're talking about there, 16, 17, 15, even for me a little bit earlier on, I had that personality type. I was extremely outgoing, and but I'm also an introvert too, right? Just like yourself in a lot of ways. And I've had multiple teachers, tell my parents, you're never really going to amount to anything. You're not going to make it. This is the wrong. And I think that that's one of the things else that for me, like, is one of the coolest parts about the generations that are below us right now. I mean, we're both in our 40s, and the generations below us, like they demand different things than we did. They have different tools too to be able to demand things. But one of the ones that I love the most is transparency. And I love the ability of this sharing of knowledge, because, you know, back in that time when we were getting, you know, talked down to, or we were being told by these people in our lives, the teachers in our lives, and or whoever they may be, coaches sometimes, you know, you're not really going to amount to much. That's because at that time, those people only knew how to succeed in one format. And if they, you know, anything kind of jumped outside of that one format, then it just isn't going to be successful. It's just not going to work. It doesn't matter. There's only one way to skin a cat. And we found that that's not true, right? We found that there's, you know, there's so many now different ways to do it. And you kind of broke through here, because at an early age, and for anybody watching that's in that age group right now, or just past it, you know, to be able to be that lucid at that age and understand, hey, listen, I'm no different than anybody else. I just need, and you recognize, hey, they have got a little bit more experience than me. They've done it a few more times, you know, they're a little bit stronger than me. So what can I do? I can't do anything about the experience. I've already started now. But I can go home and I can go kick ass. And I can go do as many sit-ups as my body can handle and as many push-ups. I mean, just at that level, at that age, being able to achieve that and then take that now, because you've been what I would consider to be enlightened for most of your life at this point. I mean, more than half of it, right? Probably closer to 70% of it.
I don't know if I would use enlightened, but if that was the case, I'd be in the Bahamas somewhere.
Well, you're not far, are you? You're really not. You just don't want to say it. You know, so it's, in addition to being able to go back to that moment where you had that moment so early on, I'm going to venture out to say that you might have had other moments like that in your life as well. At stages, maybe, have there been any stages, or let me ask you this then, how, in addition to that, how else do you stay motivated? How do you get up every day and kick ass? It's a tough thing for everybody. You got to wake up, you got to be on time, you got to go, you know, you're watching everything. Hey, I got to wake up when the alarm goes. I got to go and take a shit at this time, eat at this time, do this, do that, get up, stretch, you know, meditate for 50 minutes. And then I got to try to live a life and be successful, right? Like, so that's a tough thing for everybody. And I find that that's one of the things that was actually one of the motivating things that made me want to do this channel, because there's so much good information out there right now, but there's also some garbage information out there, and being able to sift through which ones are true and which ones aren't was one of the main motivators for me to do this. And so I'm very interested to hear, in addition to that, what other kinds of things do you keep yourself motivated? How do you get over your hump when everybody has a bad day, when you have a bad day or your energy's not there? I mean, Tony Robbins is jumping on a mini trampoline before he goes out on stage. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't need anything like that per se. I just think to myself a few things. Number one, today was today and tomorrow is tomorrow. We're going to go to bed, we're going to hit the reset button, and we're going to start all over again. That's what I always think to myself. I try not to carry over the previous day's, you know, defeat or the feelings with me. I just say, okay, go to bed. Tomorrow's going to be another day. Let's start fresh, and we'll do it over again.
Is it as simple as that for you though? Like, do you have that kind of a strong ability to positive self-talk yourself that you're able to just wipe away this stuff? How about when you can't? Like, how about if there's something, okay.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I jumped the gun. Everybody, I jumped.
The second thing that I realize is that I can have my goals and I can try to accomplish them. And if I'm not accomplishing them, that's okay, as long as I'm making an effort to accomplish them. So what I mean by that is every day I may want to do all these things, but I don't beat myself up if I don't get to them. I just say the goal is to work to get to accomplish all these things. And I think of it, as I get older, I realize that life is a marathon, not a race. And if I can take the analogy of rolling several bowling balls at the same time, I don't need to roll all of them fast at the same time. I just have to roll them each a little bit at a time and keep them on course and keep coming back.
Make little progresses on all these different goals.
Yeah. So that cumulatively you have, it creates a whole, and that whole hopefully is what you thought it would be in terms in your mind of who you are or what you're trying to accomplish. And that's kind of how I do it. But staying motivated, I mean, I write things down. I try and make goals for myself. Sometimes they're lofty, but I like them. When I was in school and I was competing, I remember telling one of the coaches one time from the women's team, I'm going to win the national championship. And she looked at me like, okay, not going to happen, but you can try. And at the end, when I left, I said, I didn't win the national championship, but I was 24 places away from it, which is closer than I would have been if I never would have said that in the first place.
There's a lot of really good stuff in this, Nels. Before we go past this, because I could feel like we're going to hit a freight train here. I want to just say a couple things, because these are some key things that I think experience really brought into you, and I want to make sure that we stop on them. First thing is the positive self-talk. Nelson's an absolute amazing. I mean, you could easily transition into a personal coach. You're so good at not only doing it with yourself, but doing it with others. And I think one of the key things that's difficult, and if you're out there, hashtag hustler or hashtag entrepreneur, and you're trying to make yourself better and level up, the first thing you need to do is really learn how powerful the positive talk is. And I'm one of the first people to admit that I need more of it too. And every time I talk to you, Nelson, I always walk away with some more positive self-talk. But the point of being a marathon, being able to set these different goals and then be able to, make sure that you're pushing the balls forward a little bit every day in some way or some measure of time, that's a key moment right there for me that I think we need to stop on for a second, because what it signals to me is that you've already mastered one of the things that I hear from people is the biggest challenge. And that is being able to set your goals, prioritize them, and then set realistic goals or landmarks or things that you need to hit, so that you're always looking at it. And so your perspective of reaching your goals is really different than most other people that I talk to now. And you just said it. And that was a perfect explanation of it, is that you go into it saying, all right, here's what I need to get done. And then here's what I want to get done. And here's my, and as long as I'm working on it, then at the end of the day, I can say, okay, cool. Here's what I did do and be positive about that. And then here's what I got to do. And I think that a lot of people discourage themselves because they'll set a goal and then they don't understand the steps. You have to take these little steps to constantly get to there. Big goals don't happen overnight. You have to take little steps. And I think that that's a superpower of yours as well. But client expectation, managing expectations for people, it is one of the key things. And I think that business would be better. The world would be better. Relationships would be better. People in general would be better if we worked on ourselves of understanding that this is a process. And if you want to be successful in anything that you do, there are some key elements that need to be there. But one of the key elements is, even if you are going to set a lofty goal, and lofty goals are, I live for lofty goals. One of the first things I do with the client is I say, okay, what do you want to achieve here? Give me your best case scenario. Because if I don't know the best case scenario, then we don't know what we're shooting for. And guess what? Because I know you know this too, Nels. But when I approach it that way, I get a lot of those best case scenarios. And when I'm not getting them, I'm getting pretty darn close. And we never would have been able to do it if we didn't identify it up front and say, here's what's the possibility. So I think that that's yet another superpower of yours. So go on. Tell us more about how you stay motivated.
Probably back in 2008 when the market tanked, I pretty much lost everything. I remember filing my tax returns one year and it said like $17,000. Might have even been less. And I know the poverty line was probably like somewhere around 13. And real estate had taken a dump basically. And I had personal things going on at the same time, and I was trying to figure it out. And shortly thereafter, I dove into an MLM, multi-level marketing, which is network marketing that people talk to, which is, I forget the other way people put it, they call it the pyramid marketing. And the experience was fine. I had a lot of fun. It really brought out the social part of me, where I'm talking to people and hosting events and kind of getting back in the mix of things of the hustle, if you will. But there was in that business, a lot of it is following personal development speakers. And one of the development speakers that I had followed was a guy named Jim Rohn. and he's since passed many years ago. But if you YouTube him, I love.
Spell it for us, Jim. Who?
Jim Rohn, Rohn. But I love a lot of his sayings, and one of the ones that I always come back to, a few of them is, finding is reserved for the searchers. Search and you will find. So if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. That was one of the ones that I always seem to go back to. The other one I always go back to is work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And then the last one that I always think about is an example in one of the videos where he asked somebody, how much do they pay you, or how much do you get paid? And they were like, they pay me this much. And he's like, and he asked, is that what the company pays though? And he said, yeah, that's how much they pay. He said, no, that's not much. That's not how much they pay. That's how much they pay you. So in other words, how valuable are you to the marketplace? If you bring value, then you'll get paid. If you don't bring value, you won't get paid. So how valuable are you making yourself?
And that's a topic. That's a topic we talk about here. I'm really glad you touched upon this. Let's talk about that for a minute, Nels, because I think at this point, if anybody is going to try to get themselves out of where they are or want to be better than where they currently are, they want to level up in some way. I think it's at the forefront of one of the most important things you need to do is understand your value. How do you do it? How do you gauge value? How do you value position yourself? And what do you look at in others that are trying to prove value to you?
You know what? I think for me, it's a couple different things, and they're all different things that I learned actually through the MLM stuff that I had done, which is one is, I wanna maintain partnerships and friendships with people that are open and coachable, right? They're open a dialogue. They're coachable both ways, like giving coaching and receiving coaching. Because at the end of the day, we don't all know everything. We don't, because if we did, we wouldn't be where we are. If we knew everything, then we'd have everything solved. And nobody has everything solved. Why? Because we're human, and we're not some divine being. So, that's that part. The other one is certainly making sure that, for me, being valuable is doing all the things that I believe will add value across the board. So reading the books, watching the videos, reading through the articles, planning my business out. And I think also proactive thinking ahead. I think that being in a position to think ahead several steps, whatever the situation might be, is critical and key in trying to get ahead and figure out where the pitfalls are, because it's when I don't think ahead and anticipate, that's the word I was looking for, anticipate the next move, like playing a game of chess, that's where you get caught in a bad position. So I think anticipating the next move, and that's what I do in my business. When I'm communicating with clients and people and I'm writing an email, I'm thinking to myself, what questions are they going to be asking me once they see this statement? How can I address the answer right now in this moment, so that once I send this, they may want to talk about it and go through it, but at the end of the day, I've answered all the questions that could possibly come up from this. It's not like I'm going to send an email and then get one back and it's going to be a back and forth. I've already anticipated the next moves.
Well, what I hear out of that is be prepared.
Absolutely. Yep. Preparation's everything.
I think you're right. Preparation is huge. And in this day and age, when they move so fast, it's challenging sometimes to fit that in. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. But it's everything. I mean, if you're prepared, that's how you're going to execute and get ahead. Excellent.
So before I let you go today, I do have just a small handful of questions that I like to ask all of our guests. So if you wouldn't mind indulging me. But, one thing that I do know about Nelson over the years, and something that I can say we share an attribute, is we're really good at keeping people in mind and reaching out. And it's funny, I just had a conversation this morning where we were talking about this person I was talking to had difficulty, remembering just to reach out to people. Everybody kind of gets in their lane and stays there, and they don't remember that everybody's in their lane. And, hey, it'd be great to reach out and connect and build some positive energy with, among your friends, among your clients, stay in touch. And so I'd like to hypothetically ask you, what would your life be like if everyone who matters to you texted you at least once a week, what would it be like?
I think pretty positive. It would be nice to know that people are thinking about me and that they care about me. I think when you hear from people, whether it's a text message or an email or a phone call, I think you feel like you're loved. I think love is key. Feeling loved, that's a big psychological help.
Well, and for me, I found, and one of the reasons why I asked the question is I found for myself that, there's a lot of activities throughout the day that suck your energy. And when you're in business, it just, when you're an entrepreneur and you're running things yourself and you're trying to build, I mean, the different things that pull you in different directions, the different hats you wear, it's so overwhelming at times, and it tends to suck your energy. And so I always like to categorize things into things that suck your energy or things that replenish you and recharge your batteries. And then sometimes if you're lucky in a great relationship, you have both, you have a hybrid of both, where it's constantly giving. So you're constantly, that's that cool balance, but in other times it's not possible. And I think that this is one of the ways that I find can be recharging, is to reach out and connect to the people that you're currently with, your friends, family, clients, customers, prospects, getting out there and just being human, removing that digital element, that, disconnect of just saying, hey, how's things? It doesn't have to be anything really complicated, but just like you said, the fact that somebody would be thinking about you, that right there is one of the most singular, powerful energies that you can try to tap into. And it's really just as simple as sending a message saying, hey, you were on my mind. How's the week? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think it would be really excellent. And I asked that question to help motivate everybody to, send a message or two this week to somebody that you haven't talked to in a minute that matters to you. Say hello. Hey, how's life? Everything's busy. Reaching out, right? Yeah. And that's what we do. And I think that the people in my network, at least, one of the reasons that I've had some blowout growth, and my last 3 years have been the best years of my career. And I think we're going to continue to be on track, because the mentality, the mindset of the blowout growth, being able to take all these different elements and put them into play is, it's an extremely leveled up, extremely graduated mindset. It's the next step, and it really works. When you employ these little nuggets into your everyday, it works not just with business success, but with personal success, with emotional success, with psychological success. Would you agree?
I would agree. And I think the goal is not to blow yourself up, but to blow yourself out.
Right.
Don't implode, explode.
For sure. Well, how do you do that? How do you explode instead of implode?
I think you run a marathon. You do all those little things that you keep going, and that's how you treat it, versus saying, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by this date, and then I'm going to add to that I'm going to save $100,000, and then I'm going to buy a new car by this date. Like, that's okay. Make the goals and set them and work towards them, but don't make them matter of fact or things that are absolutely need to be done, because I think those are the things that lead to implosion.
I agree 100%. And that goes back to setting realistic goals for yourself and being realistic about what success and achievement actually looks like. That's the thing too, with social media and with just media in general, all the different influences that we have, all these exposures to different things that the younger generation has so much to now. It can be very overwhelming. It can, in a lot of ways, it's shaping the people's self-images of themselves and what they're giving a somewhat unrealistic expectation of what success is and what I should be at a certain, and it's really nothing like that. I think that that's a key when you get to that point in your life where you have the confidence, which comes just simply from the experience of doing something. And if it happens to be yourself that you're doing, it's all the much better, because then that confidence permeates through everything that you do. But I think that that's one of the key elements. So social media makes it difficult, and the effect of media in general makes it difficult. And so it makes me want to ask you, what do you see as the effect that media has on growth and success? What about it excites you and scares you?
I think it's good if you stick to stuff that's positive. So if you're looking at things or reading things and and you're using those tools or social media outlets for you to find information to better yourself, that's fine. Question everything though. Don't believe everything you see, and take the accumulation of knowledge and then come to your own conclusion. Don't take somebody else's conclusion. Take everything, put it together, and then you figure out what you think is the answer. And the interesting thing that reminds me of is when I was in school and competing in track, I didn't have a coach until almost the very end. And I had sat out a year and actually ended up doing 5 years. But throughout the progression of my track and field career, which is how I come up with doing this method of looking at all these different sources, we and I say we because me and my teammates, we were doing the same event together. We sought knowledge from different people. So the ironic thing is, these are the people in the hammer throw that we came across in trying to be successful. We came across Tom Puxis, American record holder in the javelin. We came across Yuri Sadiq, world record holder in the hammer. We came across Roman Linscheid, Irish Olympic team hammer thrower. Alvin Jackson, Olympic team, 1972. We came across all these people. And then at the very end, the guy that ended up being my coach, God rest his soul, he passed, was Igor Gregorosh. And who was he? He was the 1984 world champion, Eastern world champion. He had the 33rd best throw in the world in the history of the hammer. And he was only B team for the Soviet Union to the A team because the A team had the world record holder. So these are all the people that I've come across. So as we went through the years, like I learned, we take little bits and pieces from everyone's knowledge, and then we'd come together, and then, we would talk about it and say, I don't like that part, but I do like that part. Let's work on implementing that part. So, and I think that's what people need to do. Take all the information, put it together and say, I got a gut feeling I like that, and I want to work with that piece. I don't like that piece. I'm going to implement that.
Definitely. And that's the question that I would have on there is, you said make sure that it's positive. So what's the filter to make sure that something is positive for you? Is it something that moves you forward?
Moves forward, adds value, doesn't hold you back, doesn't restrain you, and just keeps you moving in the right direction, just as long as it doesn't slow you down.
Yeah, agreed.
Or stop you.
Agreed. Okay, so let's take it out here with two final questions that I threw out at you before, but where we are currently in life, in society, in business, in the market, answer it however you want. But what excites you? What scares you first? And then what excites you?
What scares me is an economic downturn. That
what we just went through?
No, more like 2008 type crash.
Oh, okay.
Something of that nature. That stuff like that scares me. What excites me is I'm better prepared. So I went through it, I lived through it, but because I did and I made it, I am way more prepared now, and I'm way smarter than I ever have been about how to make it through. And then here's the other thing that I realized that excites me. When there's a turn like that, it doesn't matter where, when, or however it happens, it's being able to weather the storm and make it through that turn intact, that in turn at the end leads to greater accomplishments and more, and ultimately more wealth and more financial stability. So it's last man standing, but you got to be smart and you got to be prepared so that if something hits, then you can weather the storm, because whoever's left standing will basically get to clean up and take advantage of the situation. And business 100%. and growing is all about opportunity. And if you're not prepared for the opportunity, you're going to blow the opportunity right by.
Yeah, that's a key. That's a really good point. In my career, I've realized things do go in cycles. Those cycles vary in different ways, sometimes breadth, depth, length, but they do run in cycles. And when you miss a cycle, it's a long time before you get that same kind of an opportunity again. So being prepared for the opportunity is key. And in my business, I consult my clients on where we are currently. We navigate the markets currently, and knowing your positioning is one of the key elements that helps you to be able to be prepared. And we do see opportunity on the horizon. So I would agree with you too, that I think that there is opportunity coming up, and I do also feel better prepared for it this time. I think it's going to be another massive jump when it does happen. And I think it's going to be an opportunity for all those that are ready. I think that's part of it too. When the student is ready, the master appears kind of mentality, where you need to really keep yourself in that position where you can be ready when an opportunity comes. Because if you aren't, they don't come around a lot, but you got to be prepared. The good ones don't, at least. You got to be prepared for them when you are. So, Nelson Morales, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really thankful for you to come in. Love to have you again on the show at some point. Thank you. And looks like you're trying to expand your team. So if there's any go-getters out there that are in the mortgage license, we'll put some contact information, or hit us up in the comments below, and we'll get you together with Nelson. Or if there's anything that Nelson can do for you, if you're looking to buy a house, or if you're looking to purchase an investment property and you want to talk financing, talk markets, or just talk to him, I'd be happy to hit him up and connect with him. Is there anything you want to say before we go? Take us out, Mr. Morales.
I would say be healthy, be happy, be strong, and be humble and grateful always. That's what's going to get you.
Amen to that. Thanks a lot. And thank you, everybody, for being with us today. Please share, like, comment, share this with anybody you think might like to try to level up and learn some new ways and get some new experience and knowledge from people. Thank you very much, and take care.